Okay, we are doing elbow part 2. Hopefully I've got this going right. I tried to do it once before and I wasn't going. So these are all the landmarks we have partially learned last time. So we should have learned all of these last time. There's three technically new ones I want to talk about. The styloid process and the supraglenoid and infraglenoid tubercle. So those are going to be new. So in this picture, I'm just going to kind of go over everything we already know. So we have our trochlea and our capitulum, which we know is the distal kind of end little knuckle aspect. So we have that capitulum on the ulnar side, trochlea on the medial side, radial side, or opposite, sorry. Capitulum on ulnar side, trochlea on radial side. Next, we're going to have our medial and lateral epicondyle. So now these are these bumps. So we've got that medial epicondyle pointing out the side, lateral epicondyle on the lateral side. We're going to have the lateral supracondylar ridge, which is going to be basically this edge just above the lateral epicondyle. So the side kind of edge is going to be that lateral supracondylar ridge. The olecranon fossa, we know, is where the olecranon process is going to sit in. So we can see on the back, we have that hole right there, that kind of shallow groove. That's going to be that olecranon fossa that the olecranon process is going to sit into. So we got that olecranon process, which is going to be the back of the C shape. So we can see we have that C. So the back portion is going to be that olecranon process. Now the trochlear notch is going to be the actual kind of innards of the C. So that whole curved portion is the trochlear notch. We can see that right here as well. Coronoid process, we know, is the front portion of that C. Trochlear notch. Or coronoid process, sorry. Coronoid process. Then styloid process, we haven't learned. But if we follow the radius and ulna all the way down, so distally, so the hand would be right here. The styloid process of the radius is going to be that very end little tip point. The styloid process of the ulna is going to be this little tip. So you can see it right here. So we've got that styloid process of the radius, styloid process of the ulna. And you can feel that on yourself, that bump, that's one of your styloid processes. So that's the styloid process of the ulna, styloid process of the radius. So we know the head of the radius, it's kind of that top nail portion. So now supraglenoid and infraglenoid tubercle. These are the new ones. This is in the scapula. So that glenoid fossa, hence its name, we know is that kind of pear-shaped on the lateral side of the scapula where the humerus would sit. So supraglenoid, so supra above, so above the glenoid, will have this little bump. So that is the supraglenoid tubercle. And then infraglenoid, infra means below, inferior. So right below the glenoid, we'll have the infraglenoid tubercle. Okay, so very few muscles we're going to talk about right now, but we are going to talk first about the brachialis. So the anterior aspect of the arm is often known as the brachium. So brachialis is going to be deep to the biceps brachii. So the origin is going to be the distal 1/2 of the anterior humerus. So we have anterior humerus right here, distal, bottom portion, 1/2. So distal 1/2 of the anterior humerus. And it's going to insert onto the coronoid process, so that front of the C. And because it's on the anterior side, anterior muscles are going to do elbow flexion, while posterior muscles are going to do elbow extension. So brachialis does elbow flexion. So superficial to the brachialis is going to be our biceps brachii. So you can actually see the brachialis kind of sitting underneath. So bicep, bi means two. So you have two heads of the bicep. We have a long head and we have a short head. So LH is long head, SH is short head. So the long head, which is actually lateral, we can see right here, is going to insert or originate on the supraglenoid tubercle, so right above the glenoid fossa. And the short head is going to originate on that coracoid process of the scapula, so that kind of finger-like projection. Both of them are going to insert onto the radial tuberosity. They are going to do elbow flexion, hence a bicep curl. But they also do supination, so they do palm up. So that's why you might be doing a bicep curl with your palm up to target the bicep specifically. Or if you come down from a bicep curl and you put your palm down and you rotate it back up, then you're really targeting the bicep. Next is brachioradialis. So brachio referring to radium, or the brachius, sorry. Radialis referring to the radius. So the brachioradialis is going to originate off of the lateral supracondylar ridge. So that edge right above that lateral epicondyle. So right here. So origin, lateral supracondylar ridge. Insertion all the way down to the styloid process of the radius. So that bump on the thumb side. So styloid process. And it is going to do elbow flexion. Next, we have our tricep. So tri, three. We're going to have three heads of the tricep. We're going to have long head, which is LH. We're going to have a lateral head, and we're going to have a medial head. So our long head, we can see right here, is going to originate onto that infraglenoid tubercle. So right below that glenoid fossa. The lateral head, even though this picture doesn't look like it, it's going to come off that greater tubercle, so greater tubercle. And the medial head is actually right here. It's not super distinct. It kind of is just a difference in the fiber direction. And it's basically just going to come off posterior humerus. All three of them are going to insert onto the olecranon process, so the bump on the back of the elbow. Because it's on the posterior side, it's going to do elbow extension. So that's why when you work your triceps, you do tricep extension exercises. Okay, next we're going to have our pronator teres. So in this picture, this right here is our pronator teres. So it is going to originate from the medial epicondyle, as well as the coronoid process, so the front of the C, and it's going to insert to lateral radius. So just kind of about halfway down, lateral radius. Hence its name, it does pronation. So remember, pronation is palm down. So supination, pronation. And it is also going to assist in elbow flexion because it does cross the elbow joint and it is on anterior side, so it's going to do elbow flexion. Oh, excuse me. Next, we're going to have supinator. So our supinator is right here, more on radial side, and it's actually going to wrap around posteriorly and insert. So origination, it's going to come off the humerus at the lateral epicondyle. So we can see one little branch coming off right here. And it's also going to come off the ulna. So it's wrapping posteriorly, inserting on that kind of medial aspect of the, technically be lateral aspect of the ulna, but the inside of the ulna. And it's going to wrap around and insert anterior radius. So front of radius. And it is going to do supination. So palm up. So that is it for elbow part 2. So we really only have wrist and hand left, and then you'll have your third exam on kind of the rest of it. So elbow and wrist and hand. It's a very short exam. And then the rest of the semester will be used to complete our final project, which kind of is going to encapsulate everything that we've learned. So just keep up and you are almost done.